Back in my slime form, I settled down on my chair. Once I was up there, Shuna's dignified voice echoed across the Colosseum, the atmosphere still electric. Our 3 great commanders, please step forward. These referred to the commanders of our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Army Corps, in other words, Gobta, Geld, and Gabil. All 3 were kneeling before me. Let's kick things off with Gobta. He was looking right at me, face expectant. Ahem. Gobta, I will grant you no reward. Huh. Aw, what the hey. That's so mean. Would you call me up, then? A fine question. I may not have a reward for you, but instead, I'm going to give you a new privilege. A privilege. All the souls in the world wouldn't evolve Gobta. He might have been a bundle of budding talent, but he didn't qualify for this prize, and I couldn't help that. I considered granting him some weapons or armor, but I didn't think he'd be capable of handling anything more than what I already gave him. Besides, he and Ranga could already transform into that combo beast, so I didn't think he needed any kind of half-assed armor anyway. And forget about a cash reward, not like he'd use it for anything worthwhile. He already took in a fat paycheck as an army commander. I gave him a ton of points each month that he could trade in for money, so I was sure he was living comfortably. If this was a human kingdom, I'd probably be assigning him territory and making him an earl or something, but Tempest didn't really work on that system. It wasn't like he had any kind of governance skill regardless, so it was pointless to think about. So I decided to grant Gobta a special privilege instead. The concept was hard for Gobta to wrap his head around. Calling it just a privilege was probably too vague to understand. Let's give him the answer. I hereby grant you the privilege of continuing to address me as you do now, in your casual tone of voice. I grinned at the puzzled Gobta as I spoke. And before he could understand what I'd just told him, a cheer, or maybe more like angry shouting, rang out even louder than the one for Benimer. It was sheer jealousy, and there was no way to hide it. Even Xian and Shuna were giving Gobta terrifying gazes. I couldn't even guess how envious they were. You serious, sir? Like, you don't even know how to talk all fancy, do you? You'd royally screw it up if you tried, so I'm taking this opportunity to make it your formal right instead. I can sense that Gobta respects me, of course, but that's not at all prevalent in his tone of voice. I mean, I always tell people that they can be as casual as they'd like with me, but it seems to be difficult for a lot of people. Meanwhile, we'd frequently receive complaints from dignitaries about how flip Gobta's more natural speaking style was. People wanted me to do something about it, I was told, because otherwise it'd make everyone else look bad. It was turning into a big hassle, so I decided to grant him the right to speak that way. We had foreign guests like Fobio and Jane in the audience, so I figured taking this chance to spread the word would help solve the Gobta problem. I'm sure things like appearances and authority are big problems for some people, but as monsters, we never have anything as rigid as that. I just do what I want to do. It's what's on the inside that counts, not the outside, and Gobta's a great example of that. He may sound like a little punk, but his loyalty is the real thing. I could see it in his eyes that are fully willing to die for me. That's why I gave him this privilege. Thank you. With a huge smile, Gobta stood up and bowed until he was forming a right angle with his body. He was clearly overjoyed. Maybe he had been working on correcting his tone, although if he failed miserably. In a way, this was the best reward I could give Gobta, and that made me happy, too. He's such a hard person to shop for. That took care of Gobta. Next was Geld. Now, Geld, from this day forward, you may style yourself as Barrier Lord. I gladly accept the title, my lord. And I, Geld, promise to do my best to live up to that name. Good. Strong response there. And as the crowd cheered, I lowered my voice to a whisper. And I'm gonna try the same evolution ritual I did with Benimer on you. What on? It was gonna be a pain in the ass to explain it every time, so I set up a thought communication with everybody I intended to grant souls to. Once they were all hooked up, I explained to everyone what evolution entailed for them, not forgetting to use hasten thought as well. That way, we could have this important conversation in less than a few seconds of real time. Once I wrapped that up, Geld answered via thought communication. I am grateful for the offer, my lord, but I wonder if there are those more qualified than me for it. Career, serving as our observer, was far more successful in this war. If she, too, is qualified for this, then by all means, let it be her instead of me. So he was declining the offer to be awakened. Well, I had no intention of evolving Career this time. She did contribute a lot, yeah, but if she was this much of a menace in her current state, I couldn't have her flying off the handle with even more power. We needed to see how this evolution stuff would unfold at first, and that was why I wanted to evolve more of the old guard for starters, since I trusted they'd be safe with it. I relayed all that to Geld, but he still seemed a little torn. Yes, but me, I don't know. I guess Geld was also a little anxious about the potential to go berserk after this. Plus, maybe this was his way of expressing his atonement. The orcs' rampage a while back spread disaster all across the forest of Jur, and as the leader responsible for that, Geld always placed himself under severe discipline. His eyes were shining with a strong determination, and right now, they were pointed straight at me. So I told him. Don't worry about that, Geld. The Geld they used to call the Orc Disaster might have gone out of control, but even that was for the sake of your friends, wasn't it? I didn't think he'd go berserk now. If he had that kind of determination, he ought to be able to control whatever power he had at hand. And nobody among us would ever shun Geld for the events of the past by now. I know you still feel responsible about it, but I trust in you. And I know you can use your newfound powers to help protect us all. Once Geld evolved, his followers would receive blessings as well. That, in turn, would strengthen the defenses of our entire nation. Explaining it this way to him, I noticed Geld's eyes sparkle even brighter than before. If that is the case, then I will gratefully accept the offer. Great. He said yes. That's the Geld I know. A man who works not just for himself, but for all his compatriots. By the way, only one other person besides Geld refused the offer at first. It felt like some of them had their qualms, but their expectations for the future outclassed their anxiety. It's my fault for not checking things with them beforehand, but momentum was important with this, as far as I was concerned. Seeing everyone agree to it greatly relieved me. So I turned off the thought communication and got back into the party groove. You have done a great job for me. As a reward, I shall grant you this. I signaled to Shuna. She nodded with a smile and handed Geld a set of equipment we prepared in advance. It was an armor and shield set, both legend-class gear picked up from the battle, which I further customized after consulting with Garm. This gear reacted to Geld's own aura, meaning that only he had the right to handle it. It worked along the same lines as Holy Spirit armor, something that not even Garm could reproduce. The difference between legend and god-class gear lies in the maturity of the gear itself, in other words, the gear's skill capacity. The armor evolves over the years, in a variety of ways, and the number of years required depends on the materials used. Add a talented owner to the equation, and that dramatically increases evolution speed as well. Geld's talents are geared toward defense, so even though this gear is legend class, I predicted it'd immediately up his defense to the point where it'd rival god class. Plus, as Raphael sees it, there's a high possibility that the armor will receive additional blessings from Geld's evolution. If that happens, a god class ranking would be a shoo-in, and Geld would have some incredible defense boosts. So Geld reverently accepted his reward, bowing to me. Question. Do you wish to use the prescribed amount of 100,000 souls to evolve the subject Geld? Yes. No. As I thought yes, I called out to Geld again. I have been giving you a great deal of hard work all this time. Now is a good opportunity for you to rest and relax, while envisioning what you want for the future. I planned for Geld to continue playing a big role not only in battle, but in the construction of our city. He's been working incredibly hard this whole time, and he almost never even takes a full day off. He may very well be the hardest worker I know, and I really hope he takes this opportunity to chill out a bit. Yes, my lord. I truly appreciate this offer. Geld smiled warmly at me. Then he nonchalantly returned to his column, as if fighting off the evolutionary slumber the harvest festival would bring to him. How could he beat away that sleepiness? I have no idea. But as I admired this, I turned to our next contestant, Gabil. He had led the 3rd Army Corps in a brilliant aerial performance, and as I praised him over it, he looked down at the ground with a meek expression. I remain unworthy, my lord. My failures of leadership caused some of my own to be injured. My incompetence truly shames me. Well, in your case, I think you had it coming, didn't you? Having that bout of magic resistance training in the middle of a war. I don't think anyone could ever follow your lead on that one. Or I wouldn't want them to. Ultima gave me a detailed briefing after it was all over, and really, I was amazed at how stupid he acted. She even advised me to punish him over it. Since when had he become such an experiment-loving bastard like that? Still, thanks to that, it seemed Gabil and his team had unraveled the secret to Dragon Body, a unique skill among Dragonites. I figured that absolved him from facing the full wrath of my anger. But enough about all that. I switched over to thought communication. It'd be counterproductive if I yelled at him in front of everyone. Better to keep things private. So we'll talk at length about your decision to conduct an experiment in the middle of battle, but Ultima offered me a suggestion. She said she'd teach you more about magical management. What? Demons, you know they say they can control magicules the way you and I breathe air. She said she'll help you learn some of that, so why don't you have her teach you a lesson or two? Maybe being punished would just make Gabil happy, or maybe having Ultima beat him into shape would be better for him. But hell, I'm sure even Ultima knows how to go easy on people. I figured that running the gauntlet with her a bit would help him reflect on what he did. That was the rationale behind my decision. My lord, we are still in our infancy. I, Gabil, could hardly be more grateful for being given this opportunity to grow even further. I will make every effort to ensure we live up to your expectations, so that all of us may master Dragon Body. I thought he'd be reluctant, but his response was surprisingly positive. Guess he's ready for it, then. Looking back, I kinda miss the days back when Gabil got carried away and had his ass whipped by Gobta. His previously bird-brain personality had settled down a lot now. He's capable of reading the atmosphere around him, and that helps him acquire a certain dignity befitting an experienced warlord. He may still have a lot of work to do, as he said, but he always had the qualities he needed, and between bitter defeats and interacting with Vester and his team, he had gained a depth of thought that he simply didn't have before. By this point, I could really depend on him. All the experience he had accumulated had helped him truly grow, and that's why I could trust him to be worthy of this power. I will grant you my power, and with it, you shall awaken as the newly christened Dracolord. So I gave Gabil my souls, setting the table for his awakening and evolution. Unlike Geld, the effect was instant and dramatic. His dark purple scales acquired more of a reddish hue, and a fiery rush of magicules coursed across his body. But Gabil had no trouble at all enduring it, maintaining full consciousness and controlling the newfound force through sheer power of will. This experiment hadn't been in vain at all, it was bearing real fruit for us. Roar. The power is teeming within me. Thank you, Sir Rimuru. From here on in, I shall call myself the Dracolord, and I will use my powers for my lord and my nation. Violent lightning shot out from Gabil's body, scorching his very flesh. But in an instant, his body healed, rebuilding itself into a stronger form. I guess it worked, and perhaps thanks to me deigning to call him a lord, magnificent horns sprouted from his temples. Pretty brash of him, I thought, but they looked good. It was a truly remarkable evolution, as dignified as it was power-bound, and I was happy to accept it. So Gabil the Dracolord was born.